Welcome to the Stranger Things podcast, a fan podcast dedicated to the Netflix original series, Stranger Things. I'm Darrell.
And I'm Addi.
How you doing, Addi?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent. Are you excited?
Yeah.
Are you nervous?
Not really. Why would I be nervous?
Well, because you've done a couple of podcast episodes with me before, but this is like your first, you're like the co-host of a podcast recording. So I didn't know, some people get nervous for these types of things. Like myself. I'm not nervous now, but like the first several times I officially podcasted, I was really nervous. But you're awesome. You're a rock star.
Thanks, bro.
Bro, huh? Am I going to be hearing a lot of that?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, we thank you for joining us here for this introductory episode into the Stranger Things podcast. So, Addi, let's talk about what we're going to be talking about in this episode and set everybody up for what they can expect in the future of the Stranger Things podcast.
So we're going to be doing an episode recap, an episode discussion, listener feedback, a quote of the week, predictions, since Dad hasn't seen the show yet.
Yeah.
Cultural connections, since he lived through the 80s and I did not. What he can relate to and stuff. News and rumors about the show, and meme of the week. Which
was your idea.
Yeah. I like memes.
Yeah. So we're going to end today's episode with a meme of the week, and we'll talk more about what that segment means when we get to that segment. So this episode that we're talking about today is not going to have a lot of that. We're not talking about the first episode of Stranger Things in this episode. Instead, again, what we're doing is just giving you kind of an introduction and overview to what you can expect from our podcast from episode to episode. So today we are going to be talking about how we discovered Stranger Things and kind of give you an idea of what the format's going to be, which we just kind of teased you on. We're going to go through more of that. We're going to give you 10 strange facts about Stranger Things, tell you how you can become a part of future episodes of the podcast, tell you how to follow us on social media. Addi mentioned the meme of the week, and before we get out of here, we're also going to tell you a little bit about ourselves. She already gave you a little bit of a clue there where she called me Dad. Spoiler alert, I'm her dad.
Cool.
All right, well, let's get it started, Addi, by talking about how we discovered Stranger Things, and I would love for you to go first on this.
Okay, so it was just the normal day scrolling through Instagram, and then I saw a meme, and it said how my friends introduced me to other people, and it was the clip of Dustin saying, "She's our friend and she's crazy." That's how I discovered it. That's the first thing I saw about it, and I saw some other things about it. I was like, okay, I guess I'll just watch the show. So I went over to Netflix, and I watched the first 15 minutes, and I was like, dang, this is good. So I just kept watching it, and then, yeah, I finished it within a couple of days.
So you watched all 8 episodes within a couple of days. When you first saw that meme of Dustin, did you know that it was from Stranger Things, or did you figure that out a little bit later?
I don't remember. It could have said something like the description of the picture or something, but I don't know.
So so that was the first thing you heard. Do you remember prior to you watching it, did any of your friends mention it to you, or did you hear anybody talking about Stranger Things?
No, I was the one that introduced it to all of them, actually. So
okay. How long had the show been available on Netflix before you watched it?
I don't know. I think I watched it in October, maybe November. So it'd been out for a couple months.
Yeah, didn't it come out last summer?
I think maybe August. I'm not sure.
Let's look it up. I'm going to beat you. July 15th.
Die.
Slowpoke. You just got out Googled by a 41-year-old. How does that make you feel? Tell me, how does that make you feel? Remember, this is for posterity.
Is that a reference to The Princess Bride?
It is a reference to The Princess Bride. Good job.
Thanks, bro.
Okay.
And I started typing after you, so that doesn't count.
Well, okay, so you discovered it in October, so it had been out a few months. So for me, Golden Spiral Media, in case you are catching this podcast and don't know, this might be a good time to tell you. So this podcast is part of the Golden Spiral Media podcast network, and we have dozens of shows all about sci-fi stuff and comic book stuff. So Supergirl and Arrow and The Walking Dead and The Flash and lots of stuff. And so a lot of our listeners are sci-fi nerds and, comic nerds, and those are our people. And so we started getting people sending us emails or tagging us on Facebook or Twitter and saying, "Hey, are you guys checking out Stranger Things? Hey, are you going to be podcasting about Stranger Things? Oh my gosh, Stranger Things. Darrell, you would love Stranger Things. Stranger Things." I had never seen so many requests come in for a show before. We've always gotten requests for us to cover certain shows, but I've never seen so many come in as I had for Stranger Things. And so I thought, well, this is probably a very good show if we're getting this many requests. We didn't really have the bandwidth to be able to pick it up at the time. And Netflix is a different thing, right? Because, like you said, you watched the entire series or the entire first season rather, in 2 days. And that's completely different from anything else we do, right? Where we're watching a network show or a cable show that you get one episode a week, so having all the episodes available at once is a different dynamic that we've never dealt with before. So for multiple reasons, we chose not to pick it up at the time, but that's how I first got exposed to the show. And like I said, tons of requests started coming in, but I never watched it. I know a lot of people that have watched it, but in fact, as of today, when we were recording episode 0 here, I still have not seen a single episode. All that I have seen is the opening scene of the very first episode until it goes to opening credits. And that's as far as I've seen of any of it. Now, I know some of the references. I've heard things called an upside down or the upside down. I'm not sure what that is. I know there's a monster. I can't even think what it's called right now. What's it called?
Demogorgon.
Demogorgon. That's it. Yeah.
It's from Dungeons and Dragons. Fun fact, Colby's actually playing that with his friends right now.
He is. Her brother, my son. And I know there's a character named Will and a character named Mike, not Wazowski. There's a character named 11, and I think there's a character named Barb. That's all I know.
You forgot one of the main ones we were talking about right before we started this.
Oh, really?
It was part of the meme of the week.
Oh, Dustin, of course. Yeah, Dustin, you're right. Yeah, so, but I don't know, I know very, very little. And so that's going to be one of the dynamics we're going to talk about here in just a minute. So, but that's how I discovered the show, was people emailing us and contacting us and Facebooking us and all that stuff, asking us to do the show. And then, of course, you watched it. And then like a month or two, probably a couple months later, your mom watched it. And then like, I don't know, a month after that, your brother watched it. So now I'm the only person in our family who has not seen the show. And everyone's liked it. I've never talked to anyone about the show or heard anyone talk about the show who hasn't liked it. So that's good.
A couple of my friends said it was like boring and stuff, but they're more into like comedy and not like, sci-fi and stuff. So did you say real TV?
Did I?
It's not even TV, it's Netflix, Dad.
You can watch it on the TV, Addi. They film it in a television studio. All right, I won the argument.
This is some good tea.
This doesn't happen very often. I'm just gonna bask in this moment. All right. Well, that kind of leads us right into the next item up for discussion, which is what is the format for not only this first season but future seasons of this show? Because we have two things going on here. Well, three things. One is for this first season, I have not seen the episodes yet. Addi, how many times have you seen the show?
I've seen it once completely all the way through, and then I rewatched it, or I almost rewatched it again, and I only got through like episode 2, and then I started it again, and then only got through episode 1. So I've seen episode 1 3 times, episode 2 twice, and then all the other ones only once.
Okay. And so I haven't seen anything except for the very first scene of the very first episode, which I loved. And so this first season, And the other dynamic at play here is obviously the first season has been out for almost a year now. By the time we're recording this in May of 2017, it came out in July of 2016. So there's all of that at play. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take the first season and do one podcast episode per TV episode, or however you want to call it. Technically, yes, not TV.
Per chapter, because
there you go, per chapter.
They're called chapters.
Episodes are called chapters. That's a great, thank you. So we're going to do one podcast episode per chapter, and the dynamic will be I will be watching from episode to episode. So I will watch an episode, and then we will record our podcast about that episode, and then I'll watch another episode, and you'll watch too, of course. But so I will be opposite of you, where you know what's happened and all of that stuff. I won't. I'll be watching from episode to episode as we record. And so we'll have this neat dynamic, I think, for the first season. And one of the things you mentioned is this predictions. I think you mentioned it when you were talking about what our main episodes are going to be like. There's a predictions piece in there, which we'll do predictions all the time, but in this first season, there'll be my predictions on what I think is going to happen. And of course, Addi and probably most of you listening to this already know what will happen. And so I'm either going to look like a big idiot, which Addison is predicting is going to be the case.
I really hope that happens.
Or maybe I'll look like a rock star a few times. I don't know. But it should be fun anyway, either way.
On the last episode, am I going to get to do predictions for season 2?
Yeah, that's a great point. So let's talk about that last episode and what listeners can expect for season 2. In that season, again, the season is going to be available. It all drops on October 31st. So the entire season 2 will be available instantly, but we're going to continue our same structure in terms of one podcast episode per chapter. But that means that neither Addi nor I will have seen anything that we are not talking about in that specific episode. So we're not going to watch all of season 2 and then go back and record them one at a time, which would be fun. I mean, I think we're both going to want to just binge them. Instead, what we're going to do is watch an episode and record a podcast episode. Watch an episode and then record a podcast episode. So that'd be fun. So, but yeah, at the end of season 1, we will both make predictions on what we think will happen for season 2. But don't tell me yet, because that will spoil me. And so while we're talking about spoilers, we want you, the listeners, to be mindful of this format. So when you're sending in feedback, we'll give you that information here before we get out of here today. We want your feedback. We want you to be a part of our podcast. But please keep in mind that there may be others besides just us who are watching these an episode at a time. So send in your feedback for each episode, but please contain your feedback to whatever episode it is. So you could call in today and leave feedback for any of the first 8 episodes. That's completely cool. Just you call in 8 times if you want to, and leave a separate voicemail or type in a separate email for each episode. That way we can contain just the thoughts of each episode within each episode. But I'll cover that again when we get to feedback. But that's going to be our format for this first season. Addi's going to know what's going on. I won't. And she's probably going to have a lot of fun laughing at my ideas and predictions. All right, Addi. So you ready to move on to the next segment? I'm going to need your help on this one.
Okay.
All right. So what we thought would be fun is to take a look at 10 strange facts about Stranger Things. Now, we didn't come up with these. We got these from the great folks over at BuzzFeed. Well, I don't know if they're great folks or not, but they're folks, and they're at BuzzFeed. So why don't you take 1? I'll take 2, and we'll go back and forth.
Okay, so number 1, the Duffer Brothers, who are the creators of Stranger Things, they got tons of references from different movies from the 80s, and they confirmed that Steven Spielberg, Stephen King, and John Carpenter as major sources of inspiration.
Now, I know that you've seen Steven Spielberg movies. I'm not sure if you've seen anything from Stephen King or not. I know you haven't seen anything from John Carpenter.
What are some movies by Stephen King?
Well, Stephen King and John Carpenter are mostly in the horror genre. So Poltergeist is there. The Thing is there.
It
is there. Yeah. Stand By Me is Stephen King.
Wait, Stand By Me is a scary movie?
It's not. It's got some intense parts, but it's not a horror movie. No. Is
Steven Spielberg like The Goonies?
He did Gremlins. You've seen that. You've seen the Indiana Jones movies, Back to the Future, The Goonies. So you've seen a lot of his movies.
Yeah, The Color Purple, Hook, Warhorse, Catch Me If You Can. I've heard of a lot of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, Indiana Jones, like you said. Oh, Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. How could we forget those?
Yeah.
I still haven't seen Jurassic World.
Yeah, there's too many movies of his to really name, and they're all amazing. So,
the Twilight Zone movie. Twilight Zone, the movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Twilight Zone, the movie. I need to.
Really?
Because I've seen every other thing. Well, see, it was in the more modern era. I'm more of the classic Twilight Zone fan. So yeah, you've seen a lot of movies. Now, again, Stephen King and John Carpenter, you haven't seen many, if any, of theirs, I don't think, because most of theirs are in the horror genre. John Carpenter did like Halloween. You've at least heard of Halloween, I think, right?
Halloween Town? I've heard of that.
No, that's it's a classic horror from the 70s, but it's the guy who wears just a plain white mask and a knife. He kills people with a knife.
Fun.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that, or
Okay.
I haven't heard of that either.
Okay. So anyway, let's move on to number 2, and that is that they auditioned 906 boys and 307 girls to find the leads for the show.
I can't imagine Stranger Things being Stranger Things without, Millie and Gaten and, like the whole cast. And yeah, I wonder how different it would be, because they're all like great friends. They hang out like all the time. Like I'm following all of them on Snapchat, and of course, and they're always like hanging out, and like they're all great friends.
That's cool. Yeah, that's when you have a good cast, if you can't imagine anybody else doing that role.
Yeah. Okay, so number 3, they told Millie Bobby Brown, who plays 11, they told her they wanted her to be like E.T. Like they wanted her to resemble E.T.
That's interesting. I wonder, so her performance to match that of E.T. You and I watched that just like a month or so ago.
Yeah, I like that movie.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen her, so that's really intriguing to me. Like I haven't seen her performance yet, so I'm wondering what that even means.
Can I tell you when she like first appears on the show?
No, I will find out when I watch it.
Bro.
Number 4, they had the kids, as they were auditioning, all of them, read classic scenes from Stand By Me in those auditions. I wonder what scenes they did.
So the cast, all the kids were asked to watch classic movies such as Stand By Me, The Goonies, Poltergeist. Any more that you can think of?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, those are all. So Poltergeist is Steven Spielberg. The Goonies is Steven Spielberg. Stand By Me is, as we just said, is Stephen King. So I wonder if like The Thing, or I don't know what else from John Carpenter they would have really emphasized besides The Thing. Because I haven't seen this show yet, so there could be some other. Yeah, I don't know. Those would be the ones that I would guess. And even like Stephen King wrote a book called Christine, but John Carpenter directed the movie when it came out. So there could be some of that going on with some of these films too, that they kind of used as inspiration or asked the kids to check out.
Speaking of the book, I meant to say this earlier whenever I said they were called chapters. That would be really cool if they had like a version of Stranger Things, but it was, like as a book. Like I'd actually want to read that. I hate reading, but I'd actually, want to read it. So yeah.
You don't hate reading. It's just, it's hard for you to find a book that you really get excited about.
Yeah.
But when you do, it's like we can't get you out of your room. But it doesn't happen very often.
When was the last time that happened?
I don't know. It's been like a year. All right, number 6. Before starting the show, the writers all watched the same films, plus The Thing, there we go, E.T., Nightmare on Elm Street, which are films that heavily influenced Stranger Things. So that's really interesting to me. I'm going to have to keep an eye out. I knew E.T., and I suspected The Thing. I'm a little bit surprised by Nightmare on Elm Street.
Is Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy Krueger?
It is, yeah.
I've seen parts of that. I remember this like one scene, and like there was like a bed, and like the dude was like on the ceiling, and there was blood everywhere.
Yeah. Do you know who that dude was?
No.
That actor?
No.
Johnny Depp.
Oh yeah, I remember that now. I remember this one scene where like this girl fell asleep in class.
Yep.
And she like sees something in the hallway, and then she like goes and follows it, and she like, I think it's like the school basement, something like that. And she needs to like wake herself up, and she like burns her hand, and whenever she wakes up, the burn mark is still there. Yeah. And that like freaked me out. I was like, okay, wait a second.
Yeah, all those movies, I was your age or younger watching those movies as a kid, and Nightmare on Elm Street is one of those. We always watched horror flicks when I was a kid. And it's kind of weird because I won't really let you watch them until you get older, but I grew up on that stuff.
Yeah, because I get scared more easily.
All right, why don't you get us on number 7?
Okay, so number 7, Gaten, who plays Dustin, he went through such a dramatic voice change during filming. They weren't able to use his voice for additional dialogue recording, ADR, at the end of the production. So if they wanted to do like a voiceover or something like that, like they couldn't use his voice because, puberty.
His voice has changed. Yeah. You and I, when we were out we went to Los Angeles back in September of 2016, and we visited a couple of different filming studios when we were out there, and we saw where they do some of the ADR. We didn't get to go in and like see where they do it, but we saw like that room. If you go through that door right there, that's where they're doing ADR and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, one time I saw that it was a post on Instagram. I didn't see it in real life, but it was a sign in front of a recording room, and it said, "We're recording scary noises and screams and stuff today. Don't call the police."
That's pretty cool. What do they call those artists? Do you remember? This is a pop quiz, Addison. What do they call the artists who do like the sound effects and make the different sounds and textures of sound and stuff like that? Starts with an F. Ends with an Oli. That's right, Foley artists. You got it. All right, number 8. Clearly you don't remember. Number 8. The main titles were inspired by the work of Richard Greenberg, who is the designer behind titles like Alien, Superman, The Goonies, and The Dead Zone.
Number 9. The Duffer Brothers have a 30-page document and that maps and includes like information about the Upside Down and the nature of the Demogorgon, like how it behaves and stuff.
Interesting. See, I'm really interested to find out more about what the Upside Down is and what the Demogorgon is. I mean, I've seen a picture of it. Isn't there like a Funko of the Demogorgon? A Funko Pop? I've seen that, which I don't know how accurate that depiction is because those are kind of caricatures by nature. So yeah, I'm really interested to see.
I have the pop character of Dustin.
That's right. You sure do. Yeah.
I was so excited whenever I got him.
And you might have already noticed this in our podcast logo. The word podcast is upside down, which was my idea, but I have no idea what it means. I had this idea to put the word podcast upside down because I'd heard the phrase upside down used with the show, and people were like, that's a brilliant idea. I'm like, okay, we're going to go with it. I still have no idea what it means, though, so I'm looking forward to finally one day figuring that out.
That's like the time, I don't really know how this relates, it just kind of does. In 4th grade, my friend had hiccups, and I told her to hold her nose and drink some water, and it worked, and I was known as the class genius for the rest of the school year.
That's pretty neat.
That was 4 years ago. Dang, that was like, oh wow, that was almost 5 years ago.
Yeah, you're getting old. It happens.
Says you're like 80.
Number 10, the toddlers on the set were terrified by the Demogorgon, but the crew members calmed them down by telling them it was just like Monsters, Inc. See, I told you Mike Wazowski was in this show. Every time she mentions Mike, I go, Wazowski? She's like, oh, she'll roll her eyes, slap her forehead, tell me no in a really sarcastic way. It turns out, just like everything else in life, your dad was right.
They didn't say Mike Wazowski. They just said he was from Monsters, Inc. So once again, I was right.
No, you can't have Monsters, Inc. without Mike Wazowski.
They didn't say it was Monsters, Inc. They said it was like Monsters, Inc.
Which is Mike Wazowski.
No.
I'm sure that one of those kids, at least one of those kids, thought of Mike Wazowski.
I'm pretty sure you need to stop.
All right.
Fun fact.
Okay.
One extra one.
Bonus. All right.
11. Since it's going to be 11 facts now. So bonus fact number 11. The monster is actually made from animatronics and like...
CG?
Yeah, and there's something else I can't remember. But
Actually, I think I had that pulled up.
yeah, but I did that one from memory. I didn't even have to look that up. I just knew that, since I am such a nerd and spend all my time looking at Stranger Things facts.
Well, I'm glad that you thought of that, and I'm glad that you thought to make it an 11 facts about Stranger Things.
I have 2 more.
No, we have to end it with 11.
But I have 2 more.
You're going to have to save that for a future episode.
But I have 2 more.
We have to end on 11. It's only right.
So, number 12.
Okay, fine.
Noah, who plays Will, he originally auditioned for the part of Mike.
Mike Wazowski?
No. But, obviously he didn't get that part since he plays Will and not Mike. And yeah. And number 13, Gayton was the only one that auditioned for the part of Dustin.
The only one of the other ones that made it? Or he wasn't the only kid that auditioned for that, is he?
I think he was. Yeah, pretty sure.
Wow. I mean, that happens. That happens. Like Jorge Garcia from Lost, they wrote a part especially for him. Like he didn't really have to audition, really. So
wait,
that
why
happens.
did they write it for him?
Because they saw him on something else and they wanted him on the show. And so they wrote a part for him.
Oh, hopefully they'll like my voice enough to, write me a part in season 2 or season 3, since they already filmed for season 2.
Season 3. That'd be pretty neat. I know some guys who do a podcast about The Walking Dead, and they got to be zombies on the show a couple of times.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I hope that happens to me.
All right. Well, those are 13 strange facts about Stranger Things. Let's move on to talking about how you can be part of the show. I kind of teased this already, but I want to give you the information you need to call in your feedback. And if you've been listening to Golden Spiral Media podcasts for a while, you already know this information, but in case you're new, which if you are, we're so glad to have you listening to a Golden Spiral Media podcast. But the info you need to send in your feedback is simply goldenspiralmedia.com/feedback. And once you go to that webpage, you'll have a variety of ways you can contact us. There's a SpeakPipe widget you can use from your phone or from your desktop computer to record audio feedback. You can type out a form there that you'll see that's for Stranger Things. It'll get emailed directly to me and Addi, or there's our phone number there where you can call us as well. That phone number, if you just want it directly, is 304-837-2278. It'll go straight to voicemail, so you can just record your voicemail and then we will play it on a future episode of the show. And remember, please keep your feedback limited to a single Stranger Things episode. You can call in for any episode at any time since all of them are out there, but just say, hey, I'm Jim Bob and I'm calling for Stranger Things Chapter 2, and then talk about just that episode. That way you're not spoiling anybody, and we can also kind of keep it within our podcast episode for that. So once again, 304-837-2278 or goldenspiralmedia.com/feedback. What else should we tell them, Addi?
How about our social media?
Oh, that sounds great.
So our Twitter is Stranger Things GSM. Our Facebook is facebook.com/Stranger Things GSM. And Instagram, Stranger Things GSM.
See, it's consistency there. It's easy to remember that way. Stranger Things GSM.
Forgets email password.
Well, that's different. So we'd love to have you follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, interact with us, and we're going to talk about the meme of the week here when we close up shop here in just a minute. And so if you have suggestions for meme of the week, then those are the ways to do that. So once again, Twitter, Stranger Things GSM, Facebook.com/Stranger Things GSM, Instagram, Stranger Things GSM. But before we get to the meme of the week, we have one more thing. We thought we'd kind of tuck this at the end because we wanted to talk about Stranger Things first, because that's why you pushed the play button.
And
today.
We're not important.
Well, we're important enough to, be podcasting about this. But yeah, the podcast is not about us. It's about Stranger Things. But we wanted to take a moment and talk about who we are and kind of give a little background on us. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first? You want me to go first? Okay. Well, I'm Darrell, and I'm Addi's dad, and I am one of the co-founders of the Golden Spiral Media Podcast Network. We started way back in 2008 with the Fringe podcast.
I was in kindergarten.
Yeah, you're a tiny little thing. And that was back when you thought I was cool.
Did I ever think you were cool?
Well, before you got into junior high, you did.
You mean middle school?
Oh, yeah, middle school.
It's not cool to say junior high.
When I was your age, we called it junior high.
I guess you had to walk there both ways uphill
That's right.
in the snow barefoot.
Yes.
That's not in order, but I don't really care.
Yep. So anyway, I'm Addi's dad, owner of Golden Spiral Media. I make my living doing podcast stuff. I have a podcast production company called Pro Podcast Solutions, and we serve podcasters all around the world doing audio production or writing show notes or doing transcription or helping them get launched with their podcast. We do podcast consulting, anything that a podcaster needs. So I literally spend all day, every day, eat, sleep, breathing, podcasting. When I'm not doing that,
You can eat podcasts?
I feel like it.
That just made it 24 times better. 24.
24 times better. When I'm not podcasting or doing podcast related stuff, hanging out with my family, we like to do geeky stuff together. Addi and I are going to San Diego Comic-Con this summer, which we're really excited about. So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell. Addi, what about you?
Well, I am Addi. I am obviously his daughter, and after I get home from school, I like hanging out with my friends, eating like a lot, watching TV, playing on my phone. That's basically all I do. I play video games like a lot.
You were playing the Breath of the Wild, The Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, it's like
moment.
It's my favorite Legend of Zelda. My second one is Wind Waker.
That's a good one too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else you want to tell us about you?
I don't like school. I find it boring.
You like some of it. You're on the
show choir. Okay, so show choir is my favorite class. It's my second hour. It's really fun. It's my favorite class because I love singing. I literally sing all the time.
You're very good at it.
Thanks, bro. We actually, the day we're recording this, we had a concert yesterday at our local arts festival. Oh yeah, and I had a solo, kind of solo. Yeah.
Yeah, you did good too. Really proud of you. Even though you didn't want me there because I make you nervous, but you did great.
It's not just you; it's you and Mom.
All right. Anything else from the exciting life of Addi you want to share?
I like sewing.
Yeah.
I never really use a sewing machine because, I think we have one, but I didn't know we had one until like yesterday. And yeah, so whenever I do like sew here by hand, it takes forever. Cries. But my first hour is called FACS. It stands for Family and Consumer Sciences. It's basically like home ec. We learn how to sew, cook, deal with money, stuff that we'll actually be able to use in the real world, unlike, math. And we made a quillo, which is a blanket that folds into a pillow. The two colors I chose were like a seafoam color, like it's more bluer than that. It's, I don't know. And then like a gray, and the material is flannel because you guys need to know that. And
it looks really good. You did a really good job. And then, like in the wintertime, I think we're all gonna be fighting over that blanket. Maybe you could make us all one.
Okay, buy me fabric.
Okay. So we're going to close it out today by doing our meme of the week. And again, if you want to be a part of the meme of the week, send that to us over at Stranger Things GSM on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. Addi, what is the meme of the week?
So the meme of the week, if you remember earlier whenever I was talking about how I discovered Stranger Things, I saw the picture of Dustin saying, "She's our friend and she's crazy," and the caption, how my friends introduced me. So that's going to be our meme of the week because, it's kind of important. I would have never known what Stranger Things is. I probably would have, but later if I didn't see that meme. So good thing I'm on my phone all the time. Yeah, so that's our meme of the week.
Excellent.
If you guys want to see it, we will have it posted.
We will post it to our social media accounts as well as our website, which is goldenspiralmedia.com/Stranger Things. And so you can see the meme there. This is episode 0 of the Stranger Things podcast. And so we're going to have a meme of the week every week. And we want your suggestions on what the meme of the week is. We will choose your meme, or maybe Addi will find her one that she likes so much that she'll go with her own. But I think most of the time we'll be picking your memes. I think probably 9 times out of the 10 we'll be picking your memes. So send those over to us.
Can there be several? Because I like memes.
Then it would be memes of the week, and then it could really get crazy.
20 memes of the week.
11 memes of the week. How about just one? Any closing thoughts today?
Stay strange.
I like that. See, okay, that was wonderful. So that reminds me, back in the day when we started the Fringe podcast.
Back in the day,
we were trying to come up with sign-offs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I always said, "Stay Fringe-tastic." It wasn't my idea. Like, listeners were sending us in suggestions and people on social media, and I wish I had written down who it was because I'd love to give them credit. But somebody said, "Stay Fringe-tastic," and I liked it so much that that's what I would use to sign off every single episode with. It was like my thing. Like, people, when we would have meetups and stuff, people would ask me, I'm not making this up, multiple times, people have asked me to say, "Stay Fringe-tastic," just so they could hear me say it, like, in person.
Wait, how did you say it before? Was it in like a weird way?
I don't think so. It'd be like, "Until next time, stay Fringe-tastic."
Stay Fringe-tastic.
Yeah, that's how I would say it. So anyway, I like that. Stay strange. Is that what yours is going to be?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what mine should be yet because I haven't seen any episodes yet, but I will come up with one. And or if you have suggestions, send it in. Let me know. Until next time.
Don't forget, stay strange.